Welcome to week 10 of Pretty Decent Picks. I've got Dustin, I've got Justin, and we're actually going to start off a little unconventionally today with a fantasy league trade suggestion. I just traded away Keenan Allen in my league. I took Terry McLaurin and some fab budget. I think Keenan Allen is nearly droppable at this point, but you can still sell high. I think you'll be able to trade him for somebody because your league mates may not realize that his snap share has been cut in half the last 2 weeks as they're working Trey Harris into the offense. QJ, Oronde Gadsden, and Ladd McConkey are not ceding any of their snaps. It's all Keenan Allen snaps that are going to him. So the risk on Allen is so high, I would be selling right now. And JD, I know you also had a thought on this situation.
Yeah, like I'm kind of out on Chargers pass offense in general right now because Alt sprained his ankle again. He's done for the year. And they went really run heavy. Last time that happened, they're like, well, we have no left tackle now because our starter obviously never made it to the year. Backup's gone down, so they've just been running more. So I'm thinking they might lean into Vidal even more, and the receivers might be in trouble, especially as Trey Harris starts picking up some of Keenan Allen snaps. Yeah, it's a mess there right now from the past game compared to
messy. Yeah, I still like Gadsden. I think McConkey, Gadsden are still startable. I think Vidal is actually a pretty good trade target after he busted in that matchup against the Titans, but he still has over 75% of the snaps. So if they do go more run heavy, I don't mind going out and getting Vidal. A Keenan for Vidal trade would be totally acceptable. We just wanted to open with that. Now let's get into DFS while you're really here. And it's good, looking like a fun week. JD, you were talking before we got on that you're really excited about this week. What are you most interested in? Where do you want to start?
I think it's just overall so there's no spots that stand out as obvious. Like, okay, this is a really great spot to attack. Like, there's just not a lot. Like, there's no Cincinnati on there to attack. There's no Dallas on the slate to attack. There's not like a defense you want to go after. Kansas City's on by. And pricing's getting to the point that it's really, really tight. The last few weeks, we've had some nice value open up by about Friday afternoon, Saturday morning that kind of changed the slate. So we'll have to see if that happens this week. But yeah, I just like when, chalk always forms, and it's always nice when it forms in spots that I can be like, yeah, I don't like that spot. Instead of being like, crap, that's probably a really good spot.
Yeah. We'll see if we get something like a $4,500 Ray Davis that we just have to lock in,
right,
like Manon guy last week. But at this point in time, there aren't any totally mispriced locks. So let's get into. You want to start at quarterback?
Sure thing.
Sir.
So Josh Allen just clearly the standout in terms of overall point projection. I mean, he towers over everyone else against that Miami defense. Mm-hmm. I like Allen. I mean, Miami has really struggled defensively, and I think it should be a pretty easy spot for Allen to dominate. There is always the concern that the floor can be a little lower than you think with a guy like that because they might just run the ball 30 times. Whether it's Cook or Davis, they're willing to just run the ball if they're up. So J.J. McCarthy is clearly the optimal point per dollar play because he's so cheap facing that Ravens defense. Are you thinking you got to go Allen in cash, or do you take the top point per dollar play in McCarthy?
I do neither, honestly. I think I'd rather go all the way down to Dart, honestly, because Brissett isn't exactly in a great spot either, taking on that Seattle defense. That's not been fine. That's not been a kind spot for quarterbacks. And McCarthy's thrown for 137, 152, and 137 yards or something like that. It's very clear when he's in there, the game plan is run, target JJ like crazy, and we'll throw out just enough to him that we have to. And they just haven't really done much else with him in there. I know it's only 3 weeks that we have to go by as far as a sample, but it's not making me interested in him, even at that cheap in cash. I'd rather just play Dart at $800 more against a really bad defense. And we've seen him run enough now that it's okay, this is what he's going to do around the goal line. He's going to run for touchdowns. He's going to run for 40 to 50 yards. So I'd rather just pay still under $6K for that and just lock that into my cash games.
Yeah, I don't mind that. I agree. Dart has definitely shown us a lot, and we've been picking on the Chicago defense for weeks now. We just keep saying they're not as good as people think. So here's our chance to really jump on that again with Dart. And I like Dart a lot in GPPs because I think Slayton and Wandale are both really good plays at wide receiver. So, Slayton had his chances last week, and eventually, you've been saying it for a while, we're going to get that big game out of Slayton. So I think ownership's low, price is low. Dart projects great. Wandale projects great. It's a good week to send it on that stack.
Yeah, like that's going to be like, I always kind of come back to that, but I call it my crutch in DFS, but it proves to work. Like on weeks like this where I'm like, nothing's really standing out to me. I'm like, okay, quarterback, two of his pass catchers, run back. And if I nail that game, half my roster is going to be okay. So it's just going to be probably what I do a lot of this week.
Dustin, do you have a quarterback that you want to call out?
I know JD, you said you didn't want to go down to Jacoby Brissett, but like I kind of want to stick my foot in a little pond known as Jacoby Brissett because besides like one game, every game he started, they're throwing, dude. They have no running game to speak of. All they have is DeMarcado and see, I can't even remember the other running back's name. So like, yeah, I can't. But like he's going to throw it at least 34, 35 times. And they're going to be down in this game because, Seattle right now, I just don't – the way they're looking right now, I don't know how anyone stops them. So Seattle's going to put a lot of points on them, and he's going to have to throw to catch up. And if he can get you 20, 22 points at 4,600, I think I'm going to lock in Jacoby right there and just worry about the rest of my roster and try to make it more even.
I actually really like that call out, Dustin, because Jacoby's playing a lot better than people think. He's playing a lot better than Kyler. So the Marvin McBride combo gets an upgrade. We finally saw Marvin actually get targets. Jacoby's willing to throw the ball to the boundary, which Kyler is incapable of doing. And it finally resulted in a big game for Marvin Harrison. It's kind of pathetic that it's a career high for him and he had like 6 catches. I actually just almost could not believe when they showed that graphic in the second quarter. He was already at his career high in receptions with 5. I was like, what? So that was embarrassing for him. But I think the fact that Brissett is the quarterback is great news for them. So him projecting this well at that low ownership, I think is a product of people being afraid of Seattle. I think Seattle looked so dominant on that primetime game that you're just not going to see a lot of people go, you know what I want to do with my main slate lineup is pick the QB against them. But I think it's worth doing. Vegas gives Arizona 20 points, and that's only a couple points less than a lot of other teams on this slate. So if you're going to, like we made the same argument when Justin Fields was kind of like, a dicey play. If Vegas says they're going to score 20 points, then, why can't you pick them? If you're going to go after, McCarthy, Minnesota's projected for 22. So is that 2 points projected more? Make McCarthy safe, but Brissett's too risky. The Giants project for 21. So all these teams are projected to almost score the same amount of points, but Jacoby Brissett's the odd man out according to the ownership, and I think that's going to end up being correct. I bet McCarthy ends up even higher owned, and Brissett, I'm guessing, is going to be pretty low because he's the least sexy of the options. So I was going to say the same stack as you, Dustin. I think that Jacoby is the guy that is really interesting to me here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, well, and I think he's great at GPPs. Like I'm not going to him in cash, but I totally want on board with my GPPs, especially because the stack is so obvious. Like you said, he's kind of unlocked Harrison because he's finally thrown it to the boundary. And also, we kind of picked on tight ends for Seattle for a couple of weeks now, too. So McBride's right there, too.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of Seattle's soft spot is covering those tight ends. So there's a spot there where it's just obvious on what to do. And then you kind of can come back with a running back on the Seattle side or, I don't know what to do with their wide receivers right now. We'll kind of talk about that when we get to the receivers. But yeah, there's an obvious stack on the Arizona side on what you want to do and what you can play. And I agree. You're probably going to see him at sub 5% ownership because people are going to see Seattle and just be like, yeah, I'm good. No thanks.
Well, I mean, like Jacoby's 4,600, Marvin's 53. So that's what, like it's 9,000, almost 10. And McBride's 6. I mean, you got a whole full stack right there for under 17,000.
Yeah. It's good value stack for sure. And those guys are studs. I mean, Marvin and McBride were both 2nd round picks in best ball. So these are guys that we all believe in their talent, and now Brissett's actually delivering the ball to them. So, yeah, to get them low-owned at this price, I think is appealing. I've got one more, JD. Everyone's going to hate it, but you got to scroll down a little bit.
I know where he's going.
Of course,
I know exactly where he's going with this.
1% owned Justin Fields. You didn't have to scroll that far. 1% owned Justin Fields. Again, I'm just going to say, like I've said it a million times, he's the kind of guy who you just click him every week when he's 1% owned, and like 1 out of 3 games, he's giving you 25 points. I know Cleveland's a good defense, but they're projected for about their same team total as usual, about 19 points. It's not impressive, but all it takes is one big play for a guy like Fields. And there's just not a lot of quarterbacks who are capable of scrambling for a 60-yard touchdown like Fields is. So I think I kind of want to mention him every week. And just if you're building multiple lineups, Justin Fields lineup is never a bad idea. And you could run it back with Judkins, but you really don't even have to. You can always just play naked Fields and just you're banking on that one big touchdown run to make him up.
Yeah, I don't mind it. Like you said, kind of like you know what you're getting into. You might be getting 4 points, but you might be getting 24 as well. So you know what you're signing up for. That's kind of that MME type situation.
And look, Fields will probably take a lot of sacks. I wouldn't be surprised if Myles Garrett has multiple. But the Browns offense with Dylan Gabriel is so bad that Fields should be right back on the field again a couple minutes later. So every drive that gets killed by a sack, he should be back on the field in a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
And I think you'll see this game have a ton of punts, a ton of sacks. It's going to be ugly, but all it takes is 1 or 2 scoring drives for a guy like Fields to hit value.
Well, in Dalen Gabriel's defense, like, who on the Jets defense is going to stop them? They all play for different teams now. Like, I don't know who in the hell is going to stop anyone on Cleveland. Like, didn't the linebacker lose his job even though he was an all-pro? Sauce Gardner plays for the Colts. Quentin Williams plays for the Cowboys. I couldn't name you one other defensive player for the Jets right now. So
yeah, they definitely disbanded the whole group, but I don't know if Dylan Gabriel's problem is that he's so inaccurate. I don't even know if a bad defense helps with that, because if the guy's open and you don't throw it to him,
it's true.
What is the defense going to do about that? So, yeah, I don't know. Gabriel maybe he gets some more confidence here, but I wouldn't not touching that until he starts.
I like to make one thing very clear. I am not telling you to play Dylan Gabriel. I'm just saying, the Jets pretty much traded away their whole defense. So just want to put that out there.
Yeah. Quick note until we get to wide receiver to let you know how bad Dylan Gabriel is. Jerry Jeudy's now $3,900 on DraftKings. It takes some actual talent to make that happen.
I'm actually on the verge of claiming Jeudy to maybe start him at receiver in place of my T. Higgins bye week right now. And it's just so gross. Why don't you click over to receiver? Is anyone?
Well, I got several more ready. I got several more quarterbacks.
Oh, all right. Sorry. Yes,
so you're good. So the reason I kept scrolling is because my guy was further down. So he's finally showing up here now. So I don't know if anyone's heard this narrative that's kind of come out, and it kind of plays into the Davante Adams stuff too. That now that they have the red zone presence they have of Adams, that there's a lot of people inside the Rams organization that kind of doesn't like that Stafford's never won the MVP, and they're actually force-feeding throws to make him be the MVP, force-feeding touchdown throws.
Every team Adams is on, that ends up happening.
Yeah. So I don't know if it's true or not, but, it kind of looks like it. Either way, they're still forcing the ball in the air a lot more down on the goal line. Stafford's someone that I don't mind playing this week against that terrible, terrible San Francisco defense as well that's all kinds of injured. So another spot that's really obvious on who you run it back with, who you play it with. And so why not pull that out there? If he throws 3 more touchdown passes, you're in a good spot usually.
And have you tried to build a Stafford, Puka, Adams, CMC? Is it even possible if you take
I haven't
months?
But it's tough. I've thought that too. That's going to be what stops it. Is that if something stops it, it's going to be the price.
Well, I think Puka's the guy you leave out then, because if the narrative is we're throwing for touchdowns, like last week we saw that, right? They kept getting down inside the 5, and that's Davante Adams' time. And it's not Stafford, and it's not automatically that they're just boosting Stafford's stats. Adams, this is every team we've ever seen Adams play on. When they get inside the 5, they know Adams wins every matchup in a short field like this. So they just always force feed him at the goal line, and it works. He catches all the touchdowns. That's why they do it. So I think if you're playing Stafford thinking hopefully they just throw every touchdown instead of run, then Adams is really the pairing that you want.
For sure.
I think an Adams Stafford CMC stack is very appealing, actually.
Yeah, so that's one of the guys. The other guy I can scroll back up for, thank goodness. I'm pretty sure. Oh, maybe not. I thought he was further up. There he is, right in the middle, actually. Drake May's been playing so good that I just kind of want him. I know people are shying away from him because it's like, well, who do I stack him with? And my thought is, it doesn't matter. He's bringing one wide receiver with him every week. You might as well just try and get it, because they're going to be so low owned. You're going to get so much right by getting just that one person correct on there with you.
You have to try to get it, or could you just play him naked and say, whoever the receiver is, I'll miss on that guy, and I'll just get my 25 from Drake May if he has a good game, and then I'll just take other receivers that are reliable. That's what I would be inclined to do. But which receiver are you even comfortable clicking on?
I would do Pop Douglas. I would do Butte. I would do Hunter Henry. I would be fine with all of them, because those are all spots where I'm like, okay, if I'm clicking on this person's name, I'm already in a spot that I'm likely going to miss that wide receiver spot. I'd much rather miss trying to pair it with my quarterback than I would on some random other game and get 2 games right. If I can get 1 game right and 1 script right and get both my spots right, I'd much rather try and do that and stack up my quarterback and my running back or my wide receiver together. So I've always thought that's a much better place to go than, okay, and I'm clicking on these names, it's already pretty thin, so might as well try and get them right together rather than try and get 2 different people correct.
That's fair. I'm just worried, like, Kyle Williams is getting involved, and there's just a lot of I think May could just spread it out so thin that none of the receivers are really optimal. But I guess they are all so cheap that whoever scores a touchdown is pretty good.
That's usually what ends up happening. Yeah, the reason he's able to bring one person along is because they're all so cheap that it's like, oh, Pop Douglas scored a touchdown. He's one of the highest scoring wide receivers now. Oh, Diggs really isn't playing a whole ton of snaps, so his price is staying down. It's a big Diggs game. He's going to end up being someone that's one of the highest scoring wide receivers. So Buday's getting a couple deep shots here and there too. Like May's one of the best deep throw quarterbacks we've seen in a long time. Like he's hitting them at rates that's like
he throws seeds. Yeah, no, I agree. He's awesome. Boutte did miss practice again today. Thursday is the day we're recording this. So
which might help.
Him missing would actually make this a little easier.
It would, yeah.
Although Kyle Williams probably makes it just as complicated. But yeah, I think Douglas is viable there. I actually think I'm looking at our projections and Douglas is not in there right now. It's probably because another stat source changed him from DeMario to Pop. That's the most annoying thing. And then they'll change it back to Pop the next week or whatever, and we just have to keep going and modifying it. But we'll make sure he's in there. I think those are both good call-outs. I like that. Any other QBs from either of you before we move to? Yeah, go ahead, Dustin.
I got one. I want to piggyback on JD. I like Stafford too, and I did try to make Stafford, Puka, Devontae. It is tough, man. Like you're gonna be taking a lot of Browns wide receivers this week. You want to make it work?
I don't like it that much. Just so we're clear, I don't like it that much.
Yeah, I'm not either. So if you want to go all the way down, whoever's doing the computer, JD or Justin, the one guy that I do like, and I know I'm gonna be called a homer pick, but there's my boy Bryce Young down there at the Saints defense. I'm looking over here at the wide receivers versus the New Orleans Saints. And they've given up 12 touchdowns in 9 games. They're giving up a ton of yards to wide receivers. And also I'm looking at the quarterbacks as well. And like everyone is getting high 25s, 26. And then, but the floors I'm seeing is like 16. So if you tell me Bryce Young can get you a 16 or 17 at 5,400, I don't think that's a bad move right there.
It's just not a winning score. Like 17 is not
win. But I'm saying though, and also, but with Drake May and Josh Allen, 2 really mobile quarterbacks as well, their numbers are a little bit higher too. But I do think that they saw how Bryce played, only throwing for 107 yards and getting a win. I know they're pounding a rock with Rico Dowdle. I do think they're going to try to get their guys, Coker, Leggett, and Ted involved because they know they can't win just relying on Dowdle every week. So and this is the best defense to do it because the Saints defense is not very good at all.
They're kind of not in a spot that they like. My worry about them is they're like fighting for a playoff spot. They're actually right there. And they found this formula that works, which is Bryce only throws it 24, 25 times. Mm-hmm. We run the ball 35 to 40 times with our great offensive line that run blocks, with our great running backs. Yeah. So I think they might just see this as an opportunity. That's the concern that I would have going there. Is like, well, this is an opportunity for us to stay with our game plan and make it work.
Yeah, Dustin, you're definitely right that it's possible that they do go that route. Yeah. So there's upside for sure. The reason that he projects as the worst point per dollar play is because of the likelihood that they just continue to run the ball. Yeah. But yeah, if they ramp up the pass game, then certainly there's upside. And I think Tet would be the guy that I would pair with
for sure.
But the good segue into running back because Rico Dowdle is the guy. I mean, he is really playing such good football there. They've basically said he's the guy going forward. He's going to be the workhorse. So I don't want to play Bryce Young mainly because I think you've got to play Rico Dowdle. And I think Dowdle does most of his damage on the ground. So it doesn't correlate well for me. So yeah, I like Dowdle a lot. I have him in season long, which has been awesome. I just dropped Hubbard. It's pretty amazing. I had Hubbard as a keeper that I was pumped about. Took Dowdle just as a safety blanket, and now I might have Dowdle as a keeper next year because he looks so good. And I dropped Hubbard. So yeah, he's been awesome. Like JD said, they've got a great offensive line, good run blocking, and New Orleans defense is bad. So I think fighting for that playoff spot, I think we see Dowdle get the rock 20 times, and it's so hard to fade him. The hardest thing about this slate is the running back spot. You're comfortable fading him, JD?
There's just so much other stuff that I like. It like not in cash. Like he's a lock in cash. Like get him in there 10 times out of 10. But I'm just kind of like, okay, we saw the formula last week. We've seen it in a couple of the other games where it's like they don't want to score more than 14 or 17 points if they don't have to. They'd much rather just run the clock out. Much rather just do that. And I'm just like, okay.
When they get close, they just want to run around the goal line, and then Dowdle gets in. I think he only has to get in once with the volume of carries that he's going to get to be optimal.
I just worry that if he ends up at, let's say, 175 yards and 1 touchdown, couple of catches, 30 yards, like, okay, yeah, that probably ends up working. But what if he ends up not getting in? And this is where they bring. Like this is the spot to me where a coach would be like, hey, this is time for the counters down at the goal line. They know we want to give it to our running backs. They know what we're going to be doing. So this is where it's time for play action to Sanders, play action to McMillan, stuff like that. So I could see like 180 yards for Dowdle on 23 touches, and he has 23 DraftKings points. And it's like, okay, like that's nice. I really do like that. But is it beatable? Definitely it's beatable.
Yeah.
So with the way his ownership's like shaping up, that's just kind of not that I don't know if I'll end up fading him at this point or not. Like it's early enough in the week, obviously, but it's something where it's like, I think we have to kind of consider that side of it, because I could see him creeping up to like 38% in projections for ownership. And that usually ends up meaning like 60 to 65 sometimes by the time contest opens. So
in higher stakes, I think he could get to 50-60% owned. And yeah, it's a pivot's viable, especially if someone like Judkins is going to be, 12-13%, because like you said, the Jets just traded away their whole defense. It's hard for the projections to know. It's hard for anyone to know, not just the computer, but anyone
for sure,
to know what is this defense really going to look like. Are they going to be in shambles, or are they going to step up and be fine and just fill in those holes and be fine? So, obviously they're going to not have quite as good of an outside corner, but can they stop the run or not remains to be seen. I like taking the chance on Judkins, who's getting a lot of volume, showing a lot of talent. And, what if they just absolutely rip the Jets apart on the ground? So I think Judkins barely projecting worse than those top 3, but with a significant ownership discount. I think that's a pretty appealing spot to lean into the uncertainty of what the new Jets defense is going to play like.
Yeah, agreed. Like Williams was a lot of the reason they were good against the run. It feels like looking at some of the stats and some of the stuff they talked about around the trade yesterday. So it definitely feels like a spot for Judkins where he could end up hammering a pretty bad run defense.
Absolutely. To me, Dowdle's one of the 3 guys that I'm probably going to have locked in. Here lately, I've been going back to the old school way of playing DFS that, not to brag on it, but Justin McMahon taught me, is stack 3 good running backs and just figure out the rest later. And Dowdle's one of the 3. To me, it's Dowdle. If he plays James Cook and DeAndre Swift. James Cook, I'm going to go a narrative street here. He was born in Miami. He was raised in Miami. He loves playing there. When you go look at his games in Miami, he plays really well because he has family there. And if DeAndre Swift would have played last week, you can't convince me that him and Monanga would have the same numbers. Like, I just think Cincinnati is that bad. And you're looking into it today, like the Giants are like, they have a great defensive line, but evidently, like, run stopping is not their specialty. Like,
they get up the field in a hurry to pass rush.
Yeah, they're giving up 5.5 yards per carry per rush, and that's like leading the league. So DeAndre Swift already said.
Can you scroll down, JD, to get to Swift?
Yeah. Sorry about that. I probably should have told him.
No, you're good. He's definitely worth talking about. I'm on the same but I'm on most of the same page you are right now about him. So
and the way it is, like 5.5 yards a carry, and then like Swift said he's going to play, and I think like last week, I think people were not going to go to him because they think he's still hurt. That's when I love getting on players when they're coming back from an injury. People think like, he might be limited, he might be not. I'm like, well, I'd rather take the chance on him not be limited and being at 100% and get the full value of the price he's at now and get all the action instead of waiting a week after he broke out and now he's back to his regular price.
So you said something interesting there to me. You want to hear how you're going to win $1 million this weekend if you win $1 million?
Yeah.
So Swift, like we said, he might still be a little bit hurt, a little banged up, might not be able to play all the snaps he usually does. And Monangai might have earned a little bit more from what he's done as well. So you can play the two of them for like 11.7, I think, on DraftKings or something like that. So there's a part of me that's like, why guess? Why figure out what's going to happen here? Maybe I just play the two of them together on some tournament lineups, and they end up scoring 44 to 47 points between the two of them. And at $11,000 on 2 roster spots, like I'm more than happy to have that and keep me on pace for the kind of scores that I think I'm going to need to win some GPPs. So I like them both. Like I think you could play Monangai with it. And if he happens to take a few more goal line carries to try and save Swift's body, or if Swift goes, to the medical tent for a drive or two or something because his leg's not feeling good and they have to check it out or whatever, like I don't mind just taking all of the running production in that game against that defense that, as you said, Dustin, is really just as bad as Cincinnati run defense is. So I'm totally on board with doing that in some lineups.
Yeah, I'd probably lean Swift, but I don't mind doing both. And we've certainly seen that work before. We've seen people play Bijan Algier. We've seen people play Gibbs Montgomery. And it's like if a run game is just rolling and they're just gashing the other team, then you probably want both guys. So, yeah, I actually don't think that's an unreasonable idea. While we're down here and while we're talking about guys who are low owned, coming off of an injury or with an injury, Aaron Jones is someone that's really interesting to me. You can see on the screen he's projected 2.5% owned, and he doesn't project amazingly well. But I will say, Aaron Jones looks like he's taking the job completely. And I think all of the Jordan Mason hype has just completely died. And not even just in the run game, but Jordan Mason also blew some assignments in pass coverage, pass protection last week. And I think that's really flying under the radar. But the coaches mentioned it. They mentioned that Mason messed up in pass pro and that they're really liking what they're seeing from Jones. I think everyone will be off of Jones because he's missing practice with an injury. But this is one of those classic situations where Jones has been dealing with this injury all year. This is just the first time we're really hearing about it. And Jones has already told the media, I'm going to play. I've been playing through this. I'm going to continue to play through it. So just because we now know about it doesn't mean anything's different for him. He's been playing great, so he'll probably continue to play great. And is there some in-game injury risk? Sure, but it's nothing that hasn't already existed. I think this is the perfect time to jump in on Jones, where the coaches are really praising him and knocking Mason and saying, Jones is kind of our guy right now. And they want McCarthy to be as successful as he can possibly be. So if Mason is blowing it in pass protection, then this could end up being a way bigger split for Aaron Jones than people think. And I guess a lot of people are just going to not even think about taking him because of the injury. But I think at this ownership, Aaron Jones is one of the best GBP plays of the week.
Yeah, I love that. That was one of the cheaper guys that I was going to call out too that I love. Just to put some numbers to it. Last week, they both touched the ball 11 times. Aaron Jones had 78 yards rushing, and then he had he didn't get the ball passing. I thought he got the ball receiving a couple times too. But he had 78 total yards, and then Mason had 11 touches as well and had 37 total yards. So you add that to addition to, like you said, when one of the fastest ways as a running back to find yourself getting your snaps cut is have your coach call out your pass protection.
Yeah.
When you can't do it, you're not going to be on the field very often because they don't want to trust you to do that. So I think
it's
Jones
like
is
Caleb
awesome.
Johnson's barely played a snap all season. I mean, he's a good runner. It's not that he's not good when he gets the rock. It's that if Aaron Rodgers doesn't trust you in pass pro, you're not going to be on the field. And that's where I think we're getting to with Mason. And, Jones, every offseason, people say Aaron Jones is going to lose his role to X. And every year he doesn't. And he ends up being the best running back on his team. So I'm in on Aaron Jones once again.
Yeah, and Aaron Jones also had 2 catches for 20 yards too. So he almost had 100 scrimmage yards last week.
Oh, he did. I just missed his name. I searched for it. You're right. So he had 98 yards total, and Mason had 37 yards total, both on 11 touches. So Jones is clearly more efficient as well. Yeah.
And Aaron Jones ran 12 routes to Jordan Mason's 7.
Yep. Definitely the pass
you can't do pass protect to keep your quarterback has been hurt, healthy. You're not getting on the field.
Right.
Yep. As long as we're down here talking about running backs splitting roles, should we just keep going with GPP guys that are down here?
Yeah, go for it.
Woody Marks at $5,100. He has double-digit carries in each of his last 3 games, along with 12 targets over those. And 2 of those were against Seattle's defense and Denver's defense. So his numbers ain't looking so hot in those 2 games. But in his one good matchup when they played San Francisco, he had 110 total yards, 3 touches in the red zone as well. So it's something where he's been given a couple goal line carries. He's used in the red zone. It's been basically a 50-50 split between him and Chubb. Like, I don't think that one's going to overtake the other. But I think in this matchup where they're playing Jacksonville, who's not like someone that I'm super scared of, and I think it's a great place to attack. Like, I think Marks is someone that could be low owned and is cheaper, that, I'm willing to take those 12, 13, 14 touches that he gets against a bad defense and to take my chances with that at 5,100 versus some of these other guys. So I'm looking at him as well.
And what is the under on that game?
I'm not sure. It could be a fast game too, because Davis Mills is going to probably end up playing, it looks like. So I think that Houston could lean into the run a little bit more too.
It's pretty low. It's below 40. It's like 38.5 points.
Yeah, so it could be fast, but it's one of those things where, if he's only getting those touches, like if he only gets 13, 14, 15 touches, doesn't get into the end zone, but he gets over 100 scrimmage yards, that's a spot at 5,100 that I feel pretty good about getting that and not worried about him not getting into the end zone.
It'd be one of those 15-point games that he doesn't even sniff the end zone, but he still gets all the work in between the 20s.
All that. Yeah. So with his price being where it's at, I kind of like him.
I like it. What we should get back up to the top probably. Are there any other running backs that are pretty optimal? I mean, we didn't talk much about Achane and McCaffrey. Obviously, they project great every week. So I think it's, we don't want to just belabor the point too much that they're high volume guys, do a lot of receiving work that makes them good in PPR. Any other call outs that you want to make before we get over to wide receiver? I know we've touched on a lot of guys, so I don't think we need to add more, but just want to open the floor up one more time before we move on.
Like I said, I'm really loving the cheaper guys and just taking shots on people that I like. So another one that's against a really terrible defense in a horrible matchup is Travis Etienne. He's just getting fed the ball left and right, even though he's on the field like 65, 70% of the snaps. But when he's in there, they're really prioritizing getting him the ball.
Yeah.
I think he had 17 or 18 carries before overtime last week, ended up with 21. He still had 16 carries for about 55 yards and a touchdown against Houston earlier this year in that matchup. So it's one of those things where I kind of keep coming back to every week. Like, I really like the way Liam Cohen has some of these running plays. I like the way that he designs stuff. He knows how to play against tough defenses. So if he's willing to force the ball, 16 to 20 times to one guy like that, it's a spot that I think people will see the name Houston and just not want to play against. And so I wouldn't mind leaning into that a little bit either.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think you just can keep playing ETN, and eventually I think you're going to get a really, really big game. I will say on ETN as well, last week, Travis Etienne was tackled 5 times at the 1 yard line. I don't think I've ever seen anyone get tackled 5 times at the 1 and not end up scoring a touchdown. And that was like 3 different drives. He was tackled at the 1. 2 of those drives, they gave it to him again. He got stuffed at the 1. Mm-hmm. And so he ran as bad as you could possibly run, still put up a decent fantasy score without scoring a touchdown. So, yeah, one of these weeks, I think, he's going to – those 3 tackled at the 1 could have been 3 independent touchdowns on 3 different drives. So there's a lot of upside there that's been unrealized to this point.
Yeah, one of those spots where, especially at running back, opportunity ends up meaning a lot more than matchup sometimes. So if you're getting the ball that many times, you're going to grind your way there more often than you're not. Like, it could happen. This 1 week is the one that he gets 11 points or something like that. But if we played the slate 500 times, he's probably going to be really good in more of those than he's not.
Yeah, the Sims probably like him.
Yeah.
Let's go to wide receiver if you're ready for it.
I'm ready.
We've hinted at it, but the Browns wide receivers are kind of the value punts that stand out. It's really uncomfortable because Gabriel hasn't thrown the ball well enough to justify clicking on any of these guys. But at the same time, the Jets just traded away their defense. The Browns have like a 19-point total, which is low, but it's, similar to a lot of other teams. So Judy might be worth playing. I mean, if he's going to be that low owned, I think he really might be worth using and see if Gabriel can finally get it together. Are you up for that, JD, or do you just think why waste a roster spot on someone we know is just a guy?
I mean, he's out there 85% of the snaps. He's running routes on every single dropback that the quarterbacks have. He's like a 96% route run rate on quarterback dropbacks. How many times do we play a guy at 3,900 that sees 40 to 50% of the snaps, and we just hope he catches 2 long balls, 2 for 58 and a touchdown, and we're, ripping our shirts off, doing laps around the house and victory lapping it. And I just, with the amount of volume that he's getting, I kind of feel like we almost have to like plug our nose and go for it. Like, you're just not going to get a guy that's on the field 86% of the time for the offense at $3,900 and against a defense that, as we said earlier, who's going to cover people, who's going to tackle people, who's going to play that we've heard of. Like, if there ever was a spot for Gabriel and him to get on the same page and get it together, I will say my one worry, I think Tillman's supposed to play, but I still think those two will be on the field a ton. That'll be the 2 wide receivers that are out there all the time.
And maybe Tillman actually helps the offense moving a little. At this point, you'd take a little less concentration on Jeudy to just have the offense actually move the ball.
Yeah, 100% agree. So yeah, I think this is a spot where people are going to say, oh, Cleveland wide receiver, he was 6K, 6 weeks ago, 7 weeks ago, and now he's only 39K. How bad must he suck? Like, I just think there's a lot of, this is that situation where we talked about it in DFS where like people would rather not be wrong than be right. So they're going to be so scared to click on his name that they're not going to do it, which makes me kind of be like, all right, if someone's got to jump into it, then I guess I will, because if there's going to be a spot, this is the one.
After week 1, Jerry Jeudy has not had double-digit fantasy points. And this is despite the fact that in week 6, he had 13 targets, and all he did was turn that into 5 catches for 43 yards. So it's like, I want to click on this guy who gets a lot of volume, but he just hasn't managed to do anything with it. But like you said, he can be a home run hitter at times. It just takes one really good ball from Dillon Gabriel and one really bad play from the Jets D. So it's tempting, but also like 3,900 is not that far off from 5,300 where you could just play a real receiver like Wan'Dale Robinson. So I don't know if I'm going to need that extra 1,400 salary to punt a wide receiver. I think I might be able to get to the Debo, Wan'Dale, Shakir range, and I just don't find myself needing a bum like Jeudy. We'll see. I mean, it depends what we do at running back, right? But if I go Jackson Dart and I go Slayton, Wan'Dale, then I certainly don't need Jeudy. But if I go Stafford, Adams, CMC, then maybe I do need him. So I think it kind of depends on roster construction. I don't think there's a clear yes, no, Judy's a really good player, really bad. I think it's just kind of like, do you need this guy or not?
Yeah, and I think Shakir's someone that I like because of the volume he's getting. I don't mind him in cash games and being an optimal play. Do you want to take a guess as to what his ADOT was last week?
God, probably so low.
0.1 yard, not 1.0 yards, 0.1 yards.
Wow,
he had
just bubble screens only.
Wow.
Yeah, let me look it up again here. I had it earlier and I lost it, but
That's
he had something like 43 receiving yards and 54 yak yards is what he had last week on the game because he caught so many balls behind the line of scrimmage and ran forward.
Yeah, no, I mean he's kind of a cash only guy, and I don't even know if you need him in cash because I think Jennings and Flowers are better plays. So I'd probably rather just have Wan'Dale than Shakir. But I think like even in GVPs, I'd rather have Slayton than Jeudy, and Slayton doesn't project much worse. It's like, he's $400 more and projects 0.4 more. So they're very similarly projected, but I just think we saw Slayton almost catch a long touchdown last week. We know Jackson Dart can drop it in a bucket, whereas we know Dillon Gabriel so far can't. So I'd rather take Slayton, and I think you could get him at similar ownership. I like the upside there more. I'm totally out on Keon Coleman. He's shown us nothing. After Steve Smith called out how bad Keon Coleman is, it really did make me realize that, you know what? He's right. This guy stinks. Like, he really hasn't done anything. He's had like 2 good games in his whole career. He gets no separation. He doesn't win contested ball. I mean, he doesn't do anything well. So I'm totally out on him. Tej Johnson concerns me. Like, if he's going to be that much higher owned than Slayton, then I don't know why I'd go there. So for me, like that value range, it really all kind of narrows in on Slayton as my favorite guy there.
I would rather have Tez Johnson than Judy. Like, I know I was making the bull case because there was a case that had been made for him, but the Patriots have been a mega pass funnel, almost like Tampa has. So there's going to be a lot of passing in that game, and they always scheme up taking out the number one threat on the other teams. I could see them scheming against Ibuka. They've got Gonzalez right there to help out with that. So I actually kind of like Tez Johnson as well. I think I actually like him more than Judy just because I think he can get down the field more. And he's got a better quarterback throwing him the ball. Like, I'd much rather have Baker Mayfield's wide receiver than Dylan Gabriel's wide receiver.
Well, like we were talking about that 5K range too, about would you rather have Shakir, would you rather have Wanda? Like, what about Marvin Harrison? Like we were talking about him at the open with our Cardinals stack.
Mm-hmm.
But even if you don't have Jacoby Brissett, I still think Marvin Harrison is an awesome GBP play. Where we've now seen 1 week where they finally focused on getting him the ball and it worked great. So maybe, crazy idea, they'll do it again. I don't know, but it seems like if he's going to have single-digit ownership or be around 10% at 5,300, I don't know why we wouldn't go back to Marvin and see if this is a sticky trend or if that was just a one-off. We're going to use Marvin once so the defense thinks we might use him, and then we'll go back to throwing it to Zay Jones. I don't know, but it seems worth a risk there.
I'd much rather do that now that you say that.
You know, like, I come up with these analogies on the show, and some of them are dumb, some of them are kind of funny. Like, to me, like, going back to Jerry Jeudy real quick, Jerry Jeudy's like shopping with your really cheap parents. Instead of you wanting Fruit Loops, they buy the little bag of cereal, but it's called Fruit Rings. They're like the off-brand thing. Like, you're really embarrassed to buy, but you know it'll get the job done. It's kind of feel with Jerry Jeudy right now. Like, it's a depleted defense they're playing against, and I do like playing guys that got a 0 last week because you know the next week they're not going to follow it up with another 0, more than likely. So you know who'll get something. And at 3,900,
Yeah, it's pretty hard to do.
Yeah, it's very hard to do. So like 3,900, like he can get 8-9 points and still hit it and still hit his mark. So that's what I want to say about Jeudy right there. I'm going to compare him to bag cereal. But one guy I do like that, you know, his ownership is a little high. You know, Deebo Samuel along with Marcus Mariota, their chemistry is not bad.
Yeah, I like Deebo a lot.
Yeah, and I think Detroit's really going to put it on them because Washington is terrible to the air. I think this offense is really going to run through Ertz and Samuel because I don't care if I'm really no one say this, but I truly believe this. I think they made a big mistake trying to trade Brian Robinson. I don't think Bill's exactly what they expected. They thought Eckler was going to be there and lead it, and then he got hurt. Bill don't look very good to me. He's had 1 or 2 games where he looks okay, but I don't think he looks very good. I think Detroit's really going to hammer them, especially the air with Amon-Ra, who I love too. But I think it's going to be a lot of dump downs to Deebo. And probably if Bill is still kind of hurt, it won't be surprising they put Deebo in the backfield like he used to do back at San Fran a couple years ago. So I think Deebo is a guy that people you will get because Terry is going to be out this week. But the rapport between him and Marcus Mariota is pretty decent.
Yeah, he's definitely the top option in that offense right now. It's not all that close. I mean, Ertz has been solid, but it's definitely Deebo. And I agree. I mean, they've really got to throw to try to keep up with Detroit. Detroit's team total is like 29 points. So, yeah, I mean, I think him and Mariota, they have a strong connection. So there's definitely a lot of upside there for Deebo.
Fair.
Agreed. Yeah. I also think, I know we brushed over him a little bit earlier, but Jennings actually moved pretty well last week and looked good. They only threw the ball like 26 times with Mac. They'd have to throw a whole lot that game. But he's another one that even in GPPs, I'm like, all right, I've seen him be fine at 6,100 in GPPs before. So he's got the kind of meat left on the bone with the salary that he's at too and what he can do that I don't mind playing him in GPPs either. So I think we've kind of actually called out enough options that like, yeah, there's some upside there for Jeudy. We get why he's projecting this way, but we probably don't really need to go there.
Yeah. You can, but it's the GBP for sure.
I wanna call out me and JD, I don't know how strongly you feel about him, but I know me and Justin are total simps for this guy. I don't see him up there right now. If you can scroll down a little bit, let me see where my boo thing is at. Where is he at? Where is he at? There he is, right there.
He is.
4% ownership. You telling me our boo thing, Jalen Waddle's at 4% ownership in a game where they're probably gonna get blown out and they're gonna have to throw? I'm going back to Jalen Waddle again, man. Until he shows me a game where, well, he did show me a game, but I still went back to him because that's how much a simp I am for this guy. Like he is
Well,
dominating.
the game that he
was the
showed that
weather
was
game.
inadequate was
Yeah,
the
it's
weird
weather.
weather game where there was 100 total
Yeah.
yards of offense. If you throw that one out the window, Waddle's been nothing but awesome. And that trade deadline gave me even more confidence because they said, we're not trading Waddle. He's off the table. He's a huge part of our future plans. He's a huge part of the future of this offense. We're keeping McDaniel. We're keeping Jalen Waddle. Those are the two that we know we're hanging on to. I loved hearing that, man, because McDaniel's great. I love the plays he draws up. I think everybody who is sophisticated that watches football thought it would have been a huge mistake if Miami got rid of McDaniel. So I'm glad that the GM is on the chopping block and Tua is getting more blame than McDaniel, because those are the guys that don't deserve the blame. It's Waddle and McDaniel. They're the two that are doing their jobs. So I agree. I love Waddle. I just keep wanting to go back to him every week in a matchup where they're going to be probably behind and having to really try to pull out the stops to keep up. If McDaniel's got big plays up his sleeve, I think he brings them out in a game like this against Buffalo. I think he's the kind of coach that's like, all right, I'm going to really draw up some good ones for this big matchup that would be an awesome upset for us to pull off in a lost season, really. Like their season's done in the sense that they're not going to make the playoffs, but I think you can pull off the big upsets and make a splash. That feels like where McDaniel might use some of his better plays, which I would imagine would go to Waddle. Just last week, I mean, they ran some really cool concept where Tua made the exact same throw 2 plays in a row. It was like a 15-yard in route for Waddle, but everything else about the play was different. So the defense was thrown off, but ultimately the throw for Tua was the same throw twice in a row. And the announcers were talking about how sharp that is for McDaniel to give his QB who's struggling the exact same throw twice in a row. Just really kind of helps him stay in rhythm. But the defense was totally thrown off by all the motion and the trickery that was going around the route. And I just watched that and thought, man, I just want to keep picking Waddle every week.
Yeah.
He picked up 30 yards in a row on basically good coaching. So yeah, I love clicking on him.
Me too.
Do you want to know one of my favorite things about Waddle this week? And another reason I'm all in on him, it's more of a game theory thing. In the last 4 weeks, he's had 95, 99, and 82 yards. So the people that go in and look at box score, like they might be more inclined if he had those 3 extra bonus points for the 100-yard bonus every time.
Yeah, he
was so almost there too, but didn't quite get it. So, he might have only scored 15.5 points that week, but 18.5 looks a lot better. He's actually right there to get it. So, if he falls on the right side of that, then that's another extra 3 points that we can get right there. I just think that's
so
nice
close
thing.
to 100 yards. Don't ask me if that's cost me any money. Those bonuses are fleeting, hard to come by. But yeah, Waddle's been very close. Maybe this is the week that he gets there.
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. I think he's awesome this week. He's another one that I wanted to make sure we called out by the end.
Let me throw one more in there before I had to bid my goodbye. My tight end play is Trey McBride. There's really no other guy like. I wanted to throw that out there for y'all went there. Where is he at? I know y'all probably going to talk about him again, but at 6.8 ownership, I'm playing Devontae Adams. I think that's just
absolutely.
Yeah, I'm playing Devontae Adams. I don't think there's any. San Fran's defense, not only they're so injury ridden, the Michael Williams, the rookie that they wanted to depend on, he just tore his ACL. So they have no defense whatsoever. I mean, Houston has a terrible offense, and they could not get them off the field. So what are you going to do against the Rams? You're going to give up a lot of points and probably lose. And you're going to make Matthew Stafford like an MVP, like you said. I love Devontae Adams. Love you guys. I hate that I have to keep getting off early. But
no worries. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for being here.
Appreciate it. Trey McBride, tight end, defense. Oh, man, defense kind of sucks this week, to be honest with you. I probably had to go Jacksonville and Davis Mills. Jacksonville and Davis Mills probably the one I go to. But I appreciate it, boys. I can't wait to see the final result and see you, RGP community.
Thanks,
We'll see you, Dustin.
Yeah, so he is right. Adams was the next guy I was going to go find.
Yeah.
I think we already talked about it ad nauseum when the quarterback section, but we just have to mention that Adams is an awesome GBP one-off. You don't even have to play Stafford. You can just play Adams. We keep doing it, and it just keeps working. So I think, Adams, once again, is like a top 3 wide receiver in the league in expected fantasy points a game. It's Puka, Jamar Chase, Adams, and the gap between them and everyone else just keeps widening. So, but it's like Chase and Puka are always mega chalk and the highest priced players. Adams never is. It's like he's the one guy in that group of three that gets all the volume that just isn't highly owned and isn't priced like a true stud. So yeah, he's the play.
Yeah, and not to like get on confirmation bias or anything, but Puka, the touchdown catch he had last week, I'm like, wow, 3 wide receivers in the entire league probably get on that. He made a nice catch and a nice like 7 or 6 yard run after the catch too to get into the end zone. And they ended up with about the same fantasy points, but imagine he doesn't get into the end zone. Like, you know, Adams is like 7, 8 points higher than he is.
If he gets tackled on the floor, they're probably throwing it to Adams again.
Yeah, exactly. Something like that too could be happening. So yeah, I got on my soapbox last week because like, here's the comparison. It's easy for me to make. Take the names away, just look at the stats and who are you really going to take a lot of the time. So
right. I'm with you. All right. Ready to move to tight end?
Let's see. I got any more about Waddle. We got one that I wanted to call out too, real quick, because I don't think he's going to be super high owned, or at least I'm hoping that he's not. He's kind of looking decent this week so far, is Nico Collins. He did have 8 for 104 yards and a touchdown in week 3 against Jacksonville. He's been kind of a Jacksonville killer the last couple of years. Has had either 100 yards or a touchdown in every game against them. And I just think that, if you throw out the first 2 weeks of the season that were really weird, I don't know what was going on there. He's had really good weeks. Like, he's played really well and just never quite caught back up to that 7K range. They still have kept him below the 7K price range. He doesn't ever get like over owned or anything like that. I just think he's someone else that, Davis Mills, offensive line sucks. The narratives are there to make it easy to not click on him. And I think he's a really good play that we can go to as well.
It did feel like Davis Mills was kind of feeding him more intentionally than Stroud had been. He ended up with 11 targets, 75 yards, and it definitely felt like Davis Mills coming in was overall a positive for him. So I could see people shying away from that spot. It's a low game total, thinking, okay, backup QB. But like we're seeing with Brissett in Arizona, sometimes the backup QB is a little more intentional about just funneling targets to the number one option. And it's no doubt that it's Nico in Houston. So yeah, there's definitely a lot of upside there. Sure. And a run back with ETN, that's a nice little mini game stack.
Yeah, there. It is. Yep. Tight end we go.
Yes, sir.
Oh, so what do you think about Mark Andrews at 3,400 and what he's done the last couple of weeks? Because it seems like Mark Andrews after Halloween is a thing now. Is he I guess it was a little before Halloween because they played Thursday last week, but he got in the end zone 2 more times again. He's been way more involved the last 2-3 games as well, especially as Lamar gets back. It seemed like last week he was really looking for him.
Yeah. My thing at tight end is just that it's been such a valuable position this year. We're seeing such big scores at tight end. We're seeing guys project so well that I don't really want to throw it away with Mark Andrews. Like, I don't really want to punt. Like, I think Likely and Andrews are just kind of dicey punts. And like, yeah, it worked out great for Andrews last week, but it felt pretty lucky to me. And I mean, he had 3 targets total and put up 16 fantasy points. Like, I don't want to bank on that. I mean, he had like 2 targets the week before. I don't think there's really that great of a role here other than his red zone role. So it's just so all or nothing that's the kind of guy I'm willing to play an all or nothing guy at 1 or 2% ownership. Justin Fields is an all or nothing guy. At 1% ownership, count me in. At 10%, projecting as the top point per dollar play, I get more uncomfortable making that click. I don't want Justin Fields chalk. As soon as that game against Dallas locked and he was 40% owned, I was bummed that I picked him. And it worked out. He said 25 points, but it's not a good process. And I feel that way about Mark Andrews and Likely. Like, if they don't score, they probably bust. And that's not who I don't want that chalk, that type of archetype player chalk in GPPs when I could just play Trey McBride or George Kittle. Like, give me the real studs at this position right now. I don't want to be rolling the dice on these bums. And I know Mark Andrews used to be a stud, but he's not right now. So I'm out. Where are you at, JD? Are you in or out?
We have 2 great spots against both Washington and Seattle who've been terrible against tight end, and we get to play Laporta and McBride in those spots this week. Like, just give me those 2. Like, I don't think Laporta and McBride all week long. Like, I know Laporta doesn't project well, but I still think he's in a great spot.
Like 2.5 versus 2.6. I mean, yeah, who cares? I think that Laporta projects fine. I'm with you. It's like, I like Kittle fine because I think they kind of need to throw. And in games where they need to throw, Kittle has some monsters every now and then. Like in GDPs, I really like Kittle. In cash, I'm just going to play McBride. Just going to find a way to make that work because I think McBride has just been so awesome. Like he's just clearly the guy. But I actually think Laporta could be used in cash. I'd rather use Laporta than Andrews. I know he projects a little less, but
Sure.
Laporta's just been so consistently solid. And Andrews is a total roller coaster. So that's not a cash play, even though he projects well. And I think you're going to find people in cash make the mistake of playing him, and they could find themselves with 2 or 3 points at a position that you really you could get such a better result. So, yeah, I mean, they could get lucky. They could get bailed out with a couple of touchdowns again, but it just doesn't feel like the cash move to me.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think in cash, even I want to try and get to McBride if I can. And if I can't get to McBride, Laporta probably is the next guy I go to. Just because he is out there so much. You know, we know sometimes Detroit doesn't throw it a whole ton, so there's that worry. This week that they'll just kind of be like, hey, we've run the ball terribly this year. This is going to be a spot we really want to dedicate to running the ball. But I think it's also just a get right spot in general, playing that Commanders defense. And I don't think everyone's caught on to like, it's like, oh, okay, let me find Dallas, let me find Cincy, stuff like that. Like the Commanders numbers are almost in the exact same range as those two teams now, as far as points per play, yards per replay, stuff like that they're giving up. So I think just picking on that defense somewhere with Detroit, like you said, Detroit's 29 points, something like that projected, almost 30 points. So I think you got to find someone from Detroit to play, and Laporta is my favorite one.
Yeah, and I don't mind Zach Ertz. Like we talked about it in the Debo section a little. Like Ertz is clearly the number 2 guy there. He's been solid. He's put up some good games, and he's certainly capable. But I'd rather have Laporta.
Yeah, the other guy that I kind of like, that I know I keep getting poo-pooed every week I mention it to people. I have to keep scrolling down here. I know Kincaid's not playing a ton of snaps, but he's another one that is being very intentional about when he's out there. They're throwing him the ball. And it seems like in the last couple of games, it's even Allen looking for him. Like when he's scrambling around, he's looking to see, okay, where's 86? Where's my tight end at? He's hit him down the field for 25 yards a couple times. He's still their biggest red zone threat. I just feel like his role's been really awesome this year. And he's someone else that he kind of hangs around that not quite expensive, but not exactly cheap tight end range as well as far as price. So he just kind of gets forgotten. And he's put up a few 20-point games already this year. So he's another guy that I want to keep looking at as Kincaid. I feel like he's almost replaced Shakir as far as like, okay, that's the safety blanket that I know I'm going to go to, especially around the red zone. And instead of Shakir scoring the touchdowns this year, it's been Kincaid.
Yeah, it has. It's a good call out. That's all for me at tight end. I think once again, it's not like the biggest pool because we've just got those studs that aren't that expensive. So I don't want to be throwing darts at. I don't even need to talk about Jatavian Sanders. Like I don't even think you want to throw darts at Greg Dulcich. Like let other people make those extremely risky clicks, and let's just take the guys that are real solid.
Yeah, to kind of go back to the point we've made a lot this year too. Like if McBride was a wide receiver in 6K, what would his ownership be? If Laporta was 4,700 and a wide receiver, what would his ownership be? So, you know, it's kind of crazy that we have those.
This isn't the position to just waste that spot. Like there's a lot of good options that are cheap. All right, JD, it's we've been nailing defense lately, so we've got a little pressure on us now to get it right. Dustin took the optimal, which is the Jaguars. You know, fine with that pick. I think they're a solid option. Jags and Bucks both solid options. But we try to get a little off the board here for our GVP defenses. Do you want to take your first pick?
Yeah, you know, I think the team that I do actually want a little bit of that I haven't heard talked about a lot is the other side with the Texans in that game. I just don't think Lawrence has been someone that you really trust. Like he's obviously not the most accurate guy. He's one of those that I look at his turnover-worthy plays and I'm like, it's not low, but I look at it, I'm like, really, that's it? That's all that he has this year? Like, it feels like it's twice as often. I think it's because, especially around the red zone, he seems to put the ball in danger. He doesn't make great choices. It's just, I would never feel confident if I was a Jaguars fan watching him with the ball and be like, oh crap, are we gonna hang on to it here? Is this where it breaks down? Like, and he's kind of gotten to where, and part of this might just be their wide receivers have sucked so bad, but he's taken some really bad sacks this year too. So getting sacked a lot more than he has in the past as well. So I don't mind taking the stud D that doesn't look like they're quite as popular this week against a quarterback like that.
Yeah, no, I think that's definitely a good call out. For me, I'm really interested in the Jets D, and I know we've talked about how they could be horrible, but I like leaning into both sides of the variance. So if I'm playing Judkins, then I'm of course not going to play Jets D, but on a lineup where I don't have any Browns, I think Jets D is pretty interesting because Gabriel's just making some pretty erratic throws. Any NFL caliber player, regardless of whether they're a really good NFL player or a really bad NFL player, they're still capable of catching a ball that gets thrown to them. So, I mean, obviously the defensive players drop passes all the time, but if Dillon Gabriel is making erratic throws, the Jets could stumble into a pick six. If he's taking too long in the pocket, they're going to stumble into sacks. I know they gave away some of their best players, but they still have an NFL defense out there. And the way Gabriel's playing, I think we might be able to get the Jets D low owned because of the trades. People are going to say, well, I got to wait and see what this defense looks like before I back them in any capacity. That's the time to jump in and say, we're not picking the Jets defense. We're picking against Dillon Gabriel. And we're just saying, this guy stinks. I'll take whatever defense is playing him and let his mistakes create points for my defense, not the defense creating good plays. And I think that's where people are maybe going to just kind of miss that the Jets actually are providing them with a pretty good opportunity here.
I feel like we get in this spot, especially in daily fantasy sometimes, that we use the word a lot, like, oh, the variance, we just don't know. And even in this spot, like, is a great example of people be like, oh, we just don't know what to expect from the Jets defense because of who's playing there, but they're going to stink. So we say there's variance, but then we talk about one side. We get really narrow.
Yeah.
Of like, we don't know what's going to happen, but they're going to stink. Like, well, okay, which one is it? So I think I like that call out as far as like, it could go the other way too. We don't know that for sure. Like, why not lean into it on both sides? If everyone kind of agrees that we don't know what to expect, but one side is 75% owned and the other side is 25% owned, or whatever it is, it's very obvious that it's unbalanced. Like, why would we not lean into the unbalanced side a little bit more?
Yeah, I mean, Gabriel's already like top of the league in turnover-worthy play percentage. So, yeah, why not lean into that? And you know who else is really high up that list is JJ McCarthy. He's made some pretty bad plays, some turnover-worthy plays, and the Ravens D is overpriced for what they are. I mean, they're not a very strong defense this year, and they're overly expensive. So I actually think that you could make the argument like it's worth playing them. It's like if you have the salary, I like overpaying. I like to use every dollar I have when I can put it into defense. So rather than leave 200 or 300 salary on the table and play a more optimal defense, just spend all the money and overpay for a defense that's not really worth it to build around. That's a really key component of NFL DFS that I think a lot of people miss, is that you should almost never leave salary in this sport because you can always just put it into your defense. And I'd rather overpay for a defense that doesn't project as well to buy the low ownership on the most variant position. And I think that, when you factor in just that it's generally worth getting a low owned defense in a high variance spot against a quarterback who is making tons of turnover worthy plays, that to me is a good opportunity.
Yeah, we talk about turnover-worthy plays. We've talked about this guy a lot this year where he's up to 13 turnover-worthy plays, but I think he has like 2 interceptions now, maybe 3? 2. He's got 2 interceptions now, and that's Baker Mayfield. Like, is it going to catch up to him eventually? Or the Pats in that kind of spot too, where it's like, hey, he's not got the most healthy wide receivers still. He could be forcing stuff, and the Pats have been a pretty decent defense this year as well. So, there's someone that picks him off 2 times finally and gets a couple of them that he's been putting up for grabs. So that's another spot where it could be like, hey, let's play into that spot.
There are 11 quarterbacks this year that have at least 10 turnover-worthy throws. All of them have 5 to 11 interceptions, except Baker, who still only has 2. It's really nuts. I mean, I've never seen a guy put the ball in harm's way so many times and not get punished for it. And it reminds me of the "he can't keep getting away with this" meme.
Yeah,
that's Baker every week, just slinging it into traffic and batted balls in the air, and it always lands on the turf. And at some point, he's going to run bad. I mean, talk about run bad. Tua only has like a couple more turnover-worthy throws than Baker. He's been picked off 11 times. So, and same with Geno Smith. Geno's been picked off 11 times on 12 turnover-worthy throws. Baker has more turnover-worthy throws than Geno Smith,
13.
with 2 interceptions. And at some point, this has to even out. I mean, it can't just always be Geno gets punished and Baker runs good. Baker has run good in life. His whole life he's run good. He's made a ton of mistakes as a human being and as a professional, and as a, and Baker always comes out ahead. And I like Baker. I'm not shitting on him. But at some point, this guy has to stop getting so lucky. I just can't believe it week after week. So this is the week. Geno throws no picks. Baker throws a few. We've said it before, and it's just one of those spots that eventually it's going to hit, and you're going to say, "Oh man, they were right. I should have been playing the defense against Baker." And the Patriots are cheap too. They're not expensive.
Yeah.
And Tampa is down to they're missing Bucky Irving, they're missing Mike Evans, they're missing Godwin. They don't have that many weapons, and Baker putting the ball in harm's way. This is one of those spots where I think he could get rattled, and we've said it before, but if it starts to snowball, it can really snowball when you're making erratic throws and it's not working out. So, yeah, he's one of those guys that I'd love to target in GPPs.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's a way that we can put this into projections, but I also feel like the admission he made on the Manning Cats basically this last week too, like that's got to catch up to him in some way too, doesn't it? Did you see that when he said to the Mannings about learning to scramble?
Yeah. Well, there's a video of that already, so I don't think that's nothing from that will catch up to him. Although I think he's a fun guy. I'm sure if I was throwing a party, he'd be first on my invite list of all the NFL QBs. I'm sure he'd bring some fun stuff to the party, but I don't think he's someone to shy away from on an NFL DFS slate when you're picking your defense. And the Pats D, they're a little better than people think. Like that whole team has been playing better than people thought they would. And I think potentially a high upside pick there.
Yeah.
Any other defenses that you want to talk about? I think those were all great. Those lobbed in the usual suspects picking on these QBs that keep putting the ball in harm's way.
I know the one that I kept calling out, and I'm not going to call them out as like people should play it, but I'm just going to mention it because it's finally going to hit. Like the Giants have been terrible for like 4 weeks in a row. So this should be the week that they get 7 sacks. So
No, I know. And Caleb Williams, of all people, I mean, he likes to hold the ball a long time.
Yes.
So you know what? I think you got to include the Giants D one more time, right? Like they get
got to keep going back.
Rush. They get great pass rush. You can't bail on them the week that they're finally playing the QB who holds the ball longer than anybody other than Justin Fields. So I think you got to run that one more time. At least put them in the header, JD.
Sounds good. We got to at least include them. Like, hey, we're not giving up yet. Like, we're not. We can't quit him now.
This is the final week. If they can't get a guy who holds the ball for over 3 seconds per drive, then when are they going to get sacks? I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true. This would be that kind of week. It's kind of like almost the Jerry Jeudy case. If not this week, then when type thing.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Well, another great week. Looking forward to it. We will see you guys in the Discord. Thank you, JD.
Yeah, absolutely.